Hey everybody, Sean Holsinger here from HolsingersFlyShop.com. Bringing you a really long video today, so be prepared. You know, I usually like to keep my videos to around 8-9 minutes. This is going to go 18-20 minutes. But it's a really cool fly, and it's one that you should learn to tie just for a couple different techniques, and cool looking pattern too. That's the thing I like about it. I hate to say the word sexy looking pattern, but it is. It's a really cool looking pattern that's going to catch fish, a very imitative pattern. And that's another thing that I really like. I like to tie imitative patterns, and you're going to have a nice silhouette with this. It's going to fit right into an imitative style pattern. So this is the wiggle tail streamer. Like I said, a lot of steps involved in it, some new techniques that I'll be showing you that I haven't showed you before, and just have fun tying it. Change it up. I tie it in white. I'll show you a picture of it right now. Here it is in white, and works really good for like a shad, a shiner type of pattern. Great for bass. And give it a try, guys. Mix around with different colors. Experiment with what you like to tie. If you know a certain bait fish in your area is a certain color, try to find the materials to match that. That's what tying's all about. But what I'm here to do is show you the techniques to how to achieve the pattern, and then it's your job to make that pattern work in your area. So have fun tying, guys. Here's the picture of the fly in the vise, and then all the materials you need to tie it. Alright guys, here we see the fly in the vise. Let's get into tying it. We're going to start out by tying the tail section of it first. This is an articulated fly, so we're going to tie the tail first. For the tail, I'm going to start out with a size 6 2557 Daiichi hook. Nice circle style hook here. And get it in focus. There we go. And we're going to tie on, I'm just going to use some pink thread. It's going to put just a little hot spot back there in it when it's all said and done. And just wrap that on there. I do like to bury the hook point on this when I tie it because it is very sharp. So, bury the hook point. Come back here around the bend, maybe just a touch. What I'm going to use is, you see me using grab bag stuff. This is one of those grab bag items, and it's just some grizzly marabou, any kind of, you know, it's not marabou, it's like a strung saddle hackle kind of material, rooster saddle, whatever you got that's green. I just use this up because I have it. So just going to tie it on there, and I'm going to twist those fibers back to make them roll back over the bend. And just make a couple wraps around here, about 4 maybe, and always peeling the fibers back so they go the direction you want. And once I get that on there, I'm just going to tie it off. And this tail is going to be real simple. So just tie that off, and I got some more fibers here I can use on the front of it, so I'll just set that aside. And I'm just going to make sure I get that secure there. And the next thing I'm going to add is some olive brown UV polar chenille. You could use dubbing on this if you want. Dubbing and then brush it out. This polar chenille, I can do it pretty quickly. So that's why I switched to using the polar chenille. Just tie it down and wrap it towards the eye. And then I'm going to wrap about, I don't know, 5 or 6 wraps. And again, pulling them fibers back so they don't get trapped down. There we go, 6 wraps that one was. I'm going to tie that off. And then I'm going to come back in with that that saddle hackle feather that I just had. And we're going to add a little bit more fibers to the front of it. And this is like I said, this is going to create our tail section. Just give a little bit more movement back there in the back. Put them fibers. Okay, and just get these longer fibers here, and we're going to take like 3 wraps or so. And we'll tie that off. Okay. Just going to cut that off, and then I'm going to pull all this back, clean it up a little bit, make a nice head on here. Nice clean head. And like I said, I'm just going to make a tiny little hot spot here with my pink. So I like that. It's going to show through. You're going to see it in a second here. And I'm just going to tie this off and hit it with a little bit of UV glue to protect it. And that is all that is to our tail section. Alright, now that the tail's done, we're going to move on to the body. For the body, we're going to start out with a Gamakatsu. This is a B10S Stinger in a size 4. Nice hook, it's got a nice curve to it, and it works great for this fly. We got it in the vise here. We're going to put on some dark gray thread. You can use whatever color that's dark. And we're just going to wrap that on about the middle. And then we're going to put the line that's going to make the stinger hook on back here. And for that I'm using a 15-pound just Maxima leader. And I'm going to put it through the eye as you saw there. Then I'm going to take the bottom piece, pull it back as tight as I can. Watch not to stick yourself with that hook. And get it wrapped underneath. Okay, I don't want it sticking back that far, so I'm just going to trim it a little bit shorter. And continue to tie it down. And when tying it down, I'm going to make sure this piece stays on top. Okay, now I want this to roll just a tiny bit around the bend. You can see it just goes over the edge a little bit, not way down in here, but just a little bit, and that's going to come in handy here next with the beads. For the beads, these are some glass beads, Czech glass beads, and it's 6/0 seed beads in brown iris is the color. I got these at Hobby Lobby. You can get them at most craft stores, but you want seed beads, not drop beads. Drop beads, they'll be different size. They're like teardrop shape, and they won't work well for you. So I'm going to take 5 of these, and I'm just going to thread it on to onto that Maxima line that I have there. Here we go. And then I'm just going to slide them up the hook to the bend of the hook right there. Now next, I'm going to take the tail that we made, and I'm going to go up through the bottom of the hook. Let me show you here. I'm going to go through the bottom of the hook so it rides point down when I get this all tied in. Oops, I got to punch the eye out on that because I got a little bit of glue in there. So, in 1 second. Here we go. Be careful where you put your UV glue. So, like I said, up through the bottom. And then I'm just going to pull this through. And now I'm going to take my chameleon and I'm going to go through all these beads here. So, there we go. That is going to make the tag for our tail there. Okay, now we're just going to tie this down on top beside that other one on top, beside the other piece of chameleon. And again, I'm going to stick it down through the eye and try to keep it on the other side of the eye this time so I have enough room left. I get a wrap or two on here so I get it where I want it. And then I'm just going to pull this, get it where I want it. I want a little bit of play in here, but not much. That's how I want it there, right there. So we're just going to wrap this all down and get this all taken care of here. Trim my tag, and then I'm going to wrap this back here, back back to the bend, back to where that other piece is. So there we go, we got it hanging off of there nice and straight, just like I want it. And you're going to have lots of action here. This is going to work as like a bumper for teeth. If you catch a toothy critter like a pike or something, not going to get to your Maxima line there, so that's good. Next thing, going to use some black-barred rabbit strips. This is all the variant. You can see it's got a black line down the back. What I'm going to do is I'm going to trim off just a little bit, because the last one I used, you see how I trimmed my hair short there, so I'm going to trim that piece off. So this goes a little bit longer now. I'm going to set it right on top of the beads, and I want it to be right to the back of the beads like that. And then I'm going to separate the hair up here where I'm going to tie it in. So this is going to be the tail section. And I'm just going to set that down right on top and tie it in. Try not to trap fur here. You're going to trap a little bit, but try not to trap too much. Okay, now I'm just going to pull this back out of the way. Make a couple wraps in front. You can always take and lick your finger. Pull some of them fibers back. Next thing I need to do is I need to make the body on this. We're going to make an underbelly on this fly. To do that, I am going to use, this is some Senyo laser dub right here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a clump of it out and I'm going to pull off sections. And it's going to be about 1 inch wide, okay? And I'm just going to make a row of this 1 inch wide. I already have it done on my table here to speed some things up. But I'm going to make about a 1 inch by 4 inch long strip of this fiber. On top of that, I have some hair wing material that we're just starting to sell here. This is the olive hair wing material. And I'm just going to pull out a strip of it, and you can see it's very, very thin, and it's a tinsel. It's just going to add a lot of flash to this fly. I'm just going to straighten it out a little bit, but I'm going to let them spread out like that. And I'm just going to, what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim them about that inch long to lay on top of my other piece. And you guys have seen me, if you watch my videos, I make dubbing loops all the time. That's all I'm doing, but I'm using those two materials. So let's get into making a dubbing loop. We're just going to take our string, wrap it around the hook one time. Then I'm going to go one wrap around my loop and bring it back up. Now I'm going to stop my thread about 5 millimeters. We're going to put an eye on this at the end. That's a 5 millimeter eye. That's about the distance I want behind the eye on this fly to stop the body of this fly. So we're just going to put that in there, hook in my dubbing twister, and then take our 1 by 4 inch strip of dubbing. You can see it here, okay? We're going to lay this in my dubbing loop and center it the best we can. And then I'm going to push it up towards the fly like you see. And then I'm going to start making my dubbing loop. So we're just going to twist this up, put a finger behind the dubbing loop. Get a good twist on it, let it go. Okay, once I get it twisted nice, you see I got a nice big long strand of it here, all twisted up pretty nice. I'm going to take a hackle plier and twist around this a couple times to hold this because it's not going to stay in my dubbing loop here. So that allows me to work with it easier. Next thing I'm going to do is take my bodkin and I'm just going to pull these fibers out with my bodkin. Try not to pull too much dubbing out. You want those nice long hair wing fibers coming out here. And it's going to build a nice body for underneath. Okay, to wrap it forward, I'm just going to take and I'm going to peel with my hands. I'm going to peel as much of this back as I can to try not to trap it down. And as we're doing this, watch that hook point. I tend to put a piece of foam on there a lot of times, so I hit the foam instead of the hook point. But we just want to keep wrapping this forward, not trapping down material. That's the key point. We're going to brush it out in a second, but the less you have to brush out, the better. So just keep wrapping this forward, and remember you have your bobbin up here at that 5 millimeter point where you want to stop. So I'm actually going to stop just the hair behind that. That looks pretty good. Tie this off here. Now all this here that's left over, I'm going to cut that off and set that aside because I can pull that out and use that again on my next fly. So we're just going to tie this down nice. I'm going to bring in a dubbing brush. And I'm going to brush this out real nice. Mainly brushing out to the sides. Make sure I get underneath. Just pulling all those big hair wing fibers out. And the dubbing with it. But once I get it pretty well brushed out like this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to brush it out to each side. And I'm going to separate it on top. I'm going to try to separate it right down the middle. Sometimes I will take my bodkin needle, try to separate it that way, split it right down the middle so you have equal amounts down each side. And then once I get that, I'm going to take this rabbit strip and pull it right down over top. And with the rabbit strip, we're just going to tie it down right on the top, right behind that eye. Okay, and then we're going to trim it off and clean up the head here. Okay. Now, this under fur here, we're just going to pull it back. And there's our body of the fly, you can see. So it's really coming together nice now. Now, last thing we need to do is we need to put a head on this. For the head, I'm going to go back to my rabbit strip. And I'm going to take and pull the fibers forward on it. Okay, separate out a section about an inch. We'll see, we'll get it in front here. I'm going to separate out a section about an inch. Try to get those fibers to stand up. And then I'm going to take my Swiss CDC clamp, put it in there, and I'm going to trim off all the fibers off of this rabbit strip. Okay, so we're going to make another dubbing loop on here. Which, if you're not used to making dubbing loops, you're going to get a lot of lessons on it on this fly. Okay, so you see there I have about a 1-inch section. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take and stretch this out. Try to get them even lengths. And I'm going to almost double the size of it. Probably make it about 2 inches. So there you go. So now we're going to set that aside and we're going to make our dubbing loop now on the head. So same thing. Couple wraps around the head and once around the thread there. Then put our dubbing loop tool in. Put our Swiss CDC tool in and just trap the ends down there. And then we're going to twist it up. So we're just going to stick that in there, give it a good twist. Get those fibers nice and locked in there. And then again I'm going to take my Hackle plier tool. It's just a lot easier to work with this way. And we're going to create the head on here. We're just going to have a nice dubbed head on here with nice long fibers. So this is going to give it a lot cleaner look. You wouldn't have to do this one, but it does clean it up nice. Just always peel back those fibers as you wrap them down. Get them going in the right direction. Tie it off behind the eye there. And then we're just going to make a, there we go, nice clean head. Okay, don't crowd that eye too much. Make sure you don't cover it up where you can't fit your thread through it, your leader through it. Just going to make a couple wraps on there with my whip finish tool. Whoops. And then I'm going to come in and hit it with some UV glue. Okay, so we're just going to clean this up right now with some Solarez Bone Dry. lock that thread into place. Okay, there you see your head on your fly now. Now, if you want, sometimes I will add a little bit of like pink feather fibers in here, give it some gills. You don't have to. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to add some eyes to this fly, and what I do for the eyes is, I don't have my regular vise with me right now, so I'm just going to lay the vise over on its side here with this Regal. Take a little bit of super glue, drop a little dabble in there, and then come in with my 5mm eyes. This color is fire. I'll show you them to you here in a second. So I'm just going to put it on the side. You guys have seen me glue eyes on 100 times. And just hold that in place. Get that glue to lock in there. Try not to get glue on your fingers because that sucks. And then I'm just going to flip this over, do the same to the other side. It only takes a little dab of glue. And the key is pressing hard so the glue holds. So you're not gluing hair, but you're gluing your eye to the shaft of the hook and everything that's on the shaft of the hook. That's the key. If you just glue it to the hair, you're going to lose your eyes. But if you press it down tight and the glue adheres to all that thread wraps and the material that's on top of your hook shank, then it's going to hold and you're not going to lose your eye. So there's your tip for today on that. Alright, there we go. Now bring her back up into view here. And there you see the eyes on this fly. Very nice looking fly. Not as hard as it may look. Yeah, it took a little bit of time to tie, but it's a cool looking fly and a cool pattern to fish. Alright guys, long video. Took me a ton of time to edit it, but it was worth it. It's a really cool pattern. If you don't want to spend the time tying it, I will say I have some for sale on my website. If you get down into the description of this video, you're going to see the whole list of materials needed to tie this, but also at the top of it, there is a link to the fly that is for sale in the website. And also the white one that I showed you earlier in the video, that I talked about earlier in the video. So give this fly a try, guys. If you like to tie imitative patterns, you like to fish imitative patterns, this is a really good one. Most importantly, change colors for whatever matches the bait fish in your area. You could even tie, what would also work well, tie it with this green back like I showed you, but switch out to a white belly. White belly green back would work great. I was just going for a darker color bait fish on this one. Have fun. That's what it's all about. Experiment and see what works for you in your areas. Guys, if you like what I'm doing here, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel, comment, anything to help boost me up in the ratings there. I would be greatly appreciated. And always, you know, we tie all these videos, all the materials that are in the flies. You can find them at our shop. So please head on over to our website at holsingersflyshop.com and support our shop. We would greatly appreciate that too. If you have any questions for me, would like guiding information or anything like that, you can reach me at holsingersflyshop@gmail.com. If you have any questions about tying, you know, want some advice on something, drop me a line there. That's my personal email line. It goes straight to me, and I can get back to you on your questions. So I love bringing you these videos. I hope you enjoy watching them. And until next week, when I bring you another one, I'm Sean Holsinger.